Good morning. Good morning. Java Delight will uplift you. Stay tuned. The show is about to begin. Grab your coffee. Stay tuned. This show is about to begin.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for joining us here today on the newest episode of Java Delight, the mid-afternoon / morning / wherever you are in the world time, where we actually come on and give you a shot of energy, a Java shot of positivity, and make sure that we're actually giving you the best of ourselves. I am honored to be here with you guys this morning, and I have my absolutely adorable co-host right here, Mr. Gavin Kerr. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great. I gotta admit, man, every day that we do the show, I really have to force myself to get out of bed. I am not a morning person. I've been really trying. I've been really forcing myself for probably like 2 years to try to be a morning person, and I have all these reasons to get up in the morning, but I get up and I'm just like, oh, this sucks. That's
Honestly,
what you gotta do sometimes. I do really love being here. I just hate mornings. I don't know
what's
why,
your
actually.
hardest part of the morning? What do you hate the most about the mornings?
I think it's resetting my body is what I don't like, because I can take like 20-minute naps. I can do that and be fine.
You could take 10, 20-minute naps. That's a
Yeah,
lot
10
of
to 20.
sleep.
Yeah, there's a comma there. I can take 10 to like 20-minute naps and be completely fine. But it's just like like drinking water in the morning is probably the most excruciating thing in my head, just because the way that it feels like rehydrating everything. I
Yep.
don't know. So
I could
it's
get
just
that.
actually getting up and about, and like my voice is always in a weird spot when I first wake up. So warming that up, my eyes adjusting to light again.
That
Stuff
makes
like that.
sense.
Yeah.
That makes it. Now, do you sleep in a dark room? Like
I
a
do. I sleep
blackout
in a
curtains?
yes and no, because Crystal and we have a bunch of like lights, like little fairy lights in there. I turn them off when she works third shift because I don't like sleeping with them. I like to sleep in pitch black. But when she's home, which is like 4 nights out of the week, she has them turned on.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I don't like the twinkly lights either. I'm a no light guy when it's night.
Yeah.
But so
If I
good.
do a light, I enjoy like a candle light or like a wax burner.
Oh my gosh, we just got a very nice message from Miss Jessica Dugas. You ready for this? Happy Wednesday, happy Cinco de Mayo, happy Hump Day. Oh wait, that's not the right way to do that. Happy Revenge of the 5th. I love it.
That is
I
the
love
only way to do that.
That's probably true. And then Anna, pleasure to see you guys. Leave a comment, say hello, tell us where you're from. Happy Cinco de Mayo. People like Fernando, thank you for being who you are. Happy Cinco de Mayo, my friend. I hope you're doing well. Happy Hump Day for everybody out there. If you're having a rough week, do yourself a favor to get over the hump and match someone on Tinder. So, Gavin, we miss you too. I'm glad you're here today. Have fun with us. Play with us. Gavin, I do have a surprise for you.
You do.
First off, I'm going to play it, and we're going to just get a live reaction of... Oh, it's perfect! Are you ready? Hey, Mr. Bento, I have something for you. All right? What do you think it is? What do you think it is? I bet Tokyo Bento knows. Unmute, Gavin. Unmute, Gavin.
There we go. I got it figured out. It wouldn't let me unmute myself. Oh, that's adorable. Look at those.
You ready?
So cute.
So fluffy!
Will do.
So Tokyo Bento
Will
sent
do
me.
what?
So there's a note in there for you, Gavin. The pink, that's the purple. The pink unicorn one is for you from Tokyo Bento. And he said, make sure to give this to you. Hell yeah. Absolutely. Thanks for joining us, Gavin. Happy hump day. I'm horny. Get it? Horny? I mean, are you getting... Bro, I laughed so hard opening this. I loved every second of this.
Those are awesome. I love them. That's pretty great.
And when I say fluffy, like, bro, Tokyo Bento, thank you so much. Like, I wish I had some Molly. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I see Susan's face in the background.
You're talking about your friend Molly. You wish that
she is an amazing
and enjoy how fluffy those unicorn stuffies are with you.
Yes. Like my friend, she is a wonderful cuddler. She has this energy that makes everything soft and fluffier. It's a lot of fun. I honestly, these are adorable, and I'm so excited because I cuddled mine last night after I opened it, and I could not share the video with everybody because I wanted to wait to show you guys today, and I couldn't wait to show Tokyo Bento and say thank you. What a great time. My camera doesn't like me today. But let's say hello, and then you and I could dive into our articles, and we'll bring Miss Susan to say hello and catch up with her for a few before her guest gets here. Sound good?
Sounds great.
So, first person up, Jacqueline Rodriguez. Good morning. And you get 2 good mornings. That one's from you, Gavin. Say it.
Good morning.
Ooh, that was sexy. Tokyo Bento. Good morning.
Oh, I thought it was more childlike.
No, it was adorable. You're like, good morning. How you doing? You know? We got Tokyo Bento. Jessica Dugas is jealous now, but don't worry. She is a very good person. She doesn't stay jealous for long. She just gets even. Anna Oglier, thank you, Oglier. We miss you too. I am so glad you are here. We are so glad you are joining us today. Please do not hesitate that for the... Oh, it's also Happy Children's Day. I forgot. Happy Children's Day. Make sure you go out and kidnap a kid today. Don't do that. But do go out and make sure that if you have kids, you spread love and positivity. Show them the love that you want.
Happy Boys Day. Is there a Happy Girls Day then?
He explained this yesterday in the comments. You might not have caught it, but he literally was saying that I think it was 2 days ago that you're getting kissy faces. Don't let your girl see that.
Yeah, please don't get me in trouble.
I won't. You're not doing anything. They're allowed to send you kiss face, just like I'm allowed to kiss on you in public. Like I hold your hand, I kissed your cheek, all of that. You just didn't know. I drugged you. I'm in a weird mood this morning. Apparently, my jokes are gonna go all over today.
Don't drug me.
I won't.
If you must give me drugs, at least acknowledge me of it. At least tell me that you're giving me drugs while I'm consuming it. At the very least.
Like you're like about to touch it. Hey, Gavin, I'm drugging you, huh?
Yeah, like if you put something in my mug here, then while you see me taking that first sip, be like, oh, by the way, there's Molly in that.
No, my friend does not go in your coffee.
Because that would just be pieces of her hair or something in there.
I could do that. March 3rd is Girls' Day. It's the day that everybody gets to celebrate children as girls, and then today is Hump Day / why the girls and boys are here / I did. What is today? Cinco de Mayo. So much more. Oh, I got kissy faces. How you doing? Good to see you, Jacqueline. Long time no see. You come here often? How you doing?
Almost every morning.
Almost every morning. I love when she speaks Spanish because I have to take what she writes and go move it into Google Translate just so I know what's going on. I don't know much. Dude, I took French and Spanish at the same time. I failed both miserably because they confused the hell out of me doing it at the same time. So we honor or appreciate children on their respective days. The rest of the year, they're pieces of shit. I'm just kidding, Tokyo. I do like how they did this though. 3355. I do think that's a pretty cool thing.
Oh, that's nice.
That's a pretty nice way of doing that. I like
makes it
that.
very easy to remember.
True. I love it. So I will go with my article first, and then we will jump into yours. Sound good, buddy? That way you have a second to get yours pulled up. There we go. Yeah. So she started out as a school custodian. Years later, she is the most beloved teacher. Miss Wanda Smith pursued through college while working 2 jobs and raising a family.
Persevered.
You know what? I told you my brain wasn't working yet. And yesterday we help each other. I love you. Thank you, Gavin. Wanda Smith persevered through college while working 2 jobs and raising a family to become a teacher at the same elementary school where she was once a custodian and a bus monitor. Wanda Smith's dream had been to be a teacher, but she had to put all that on hold after graduating high school to take care of her mother and provide for her family. She worked long hours as a bus monitor, a custodian, and for the Brunch Independent School District in Texas. She never let go of the hope that one day she would be leading a classroom. It took 9 years of perseverance through attending night classes, missing time with her 3 children, and nearly quitting school multiple times amid the tragic loss of her mother and sisters. But she earned a bachelor's degree from Sam Houston State University in 2010 that finally made her a certified teacher. Smith then returned to the Burnham Elementary School as a first grade teacher at the school where she had once walked as a custodian. When I stand in front of my classroom, I am living my dream, she told Jenna Bush on the Today Show. Jenna highlighted Smith's inspiring journey as part of as Teacher Appreciation Week before giving her a series of surprises that left her in tears on Tuesday. Wanda Smith is a portrait of the American teacher. Brenham Elementary School's principal, Kim Rocca, said, I love the last name, said on the Today Show, she's such an inspiration to us all. Dr. Alyssa White, the president of Sam Houston State, surprised Smith with a $500 scholarship in her name. The Wanda Smith Makes a Difference scholarship will go to first-generation Sam Houston State students who want to pursue careers in teaching. That honor, followed by Burnham Mayor Milton Tate Jr., declaring Tuesday to be the best you can be, Wanda Smith Day, in honor of Smith's favorite phrases. Be the best you can be. I love it. Wanda, you're not just an inspiration to your students, but also to our community, Tate says. Oh my God. I got a day, Smith said as she dabbed her tears. This article goes for a while, as you could see. I read it beforehand, and I know that my reading isn't exactly the strongest when I'm publicly reading, but here's the thing. This article really talks about how following your dreams, following your passions, knowing that not to give up, knowing to keep moving, that she wanted to be a teacher so bad to influence lives that she kept going to night school. She took care of her mom. Miss Smith, as a teacher, I look at you and I say, thank you. For real. I've had a few teachers in my life who inspired me, encouraged me, and kept me going. And being someone with a learning disability, it truly made me want to keep going in school and showing up. Teachers like you are the reason kids get through school. Never change. If you have a teacher that inspired you today, do yourself a favor, send them a message and say thank you. And if you are a teacher like Miss Jessica Dugas, do us a favor and know how much of an influence you're making on your kids, because you already know it, Jess, but at the end of the day, your kids are learning, they're loving, and they're growing. And that is an inspiring story for all of us to be able to keep moving forwards and growing. It also touches on something we talked about yesterday. Honor someone while they are here. Don't wait until they are gone. I love it. 100%. 100%. Mr. Gavin Kerr, please go ahead.
Yeah. Pulling it up right now. So there was a couple of different articles that I wanted to grab, Sarah Sciencey, and then I saw this one, and it just kind of messed with my mind a little bit. Becoming a
Whoa.
part-time mermaid is a big trend in China. It's as difficult as it is lovely.
That looks really cool.
Yeah, there's a bunch of them.
Holy,
Like in some like deep water as well.
like look at
Like you
that.
can,
Like,
yeah, it's not like a slumber, or it's not like a little kid's birthday party or something. You got someone dressed up as Ariel and like kiddie pool. Like they're
right?
like full on in the ocean,
Bro,
or
that
like a
is
big ass fish tank. So is it really any surprise that the world's largest scuba diver training organization is instructing a new generation of free divers in the art and techniques of mermaiding?
mermaiding.
PADI, the aforementioned organization, now offers 4 levels of mermaid diving certification, which is essentially free diving, but with a large and sometimes heavy artificial tail that requires a different kind of human locomotion. Humans have always been drawn to forms of extreme movement, and since ancient times, bungee jumping with jungle vines, surfing with primitive boards, and skiing with pieces of wood covered in leather and fur have allowed people alternative ways to move around and get their thrills. This hasn't stopped. And modern technology like parachutes, or in this case, artificial mermaid tails, have continued this millennia-old time pass. The genesis of mermaid diving course is, or the genius of these mermaid diving courses is Dada Li, the world's first Chinese woman to hold a master freediving training certification from PADI. She created the first You see that there's no space?
I
She
did.
created the
I was
yeah
trying to make sure I was ready to help you in case you got a word too, because I hate when I stumble on words on reading out loud.
yeah that's a tricky one. It's a new compound word. She
Right?
created the first professional underwater performance team composed of free divers only. I was inspired by an old movie called Splash in the 1980s, Lee tells CNN Travel. The heroine is a mermaid who lives in the sea. The image has lived in my head for years since. A mermaid tail ties both legs together so they can't move freely. So we need to use our belly and waist more like a dolphin. It requires practice to make this movement smooth and elegant like a real mermaid. Since 2012, Lee has been enchanted with free diving, a skill set that involves a deep understanding of the human physiology, and one which doesn't include any equipment but regular flippers and a pair of goggles with a snorkel. She was the first female freediving instructor in her home country of China. She now holds position of PADI ambassador. Lee decided to use her skills to pursue her dream of becoming a mermaid. And in doing so, she stumbled upon a growing sport which is now exploding in popularity worldwide. Look at that.
I honestly, I'm more impressed with the ingenuity, the love, the appreciation for wanting to be a mermaid to the point that she went out and created her own thing. And
Yeah.
I'm going to get my F word in early today. It's not even been a half hour on the show, but buddy, that's what life is fucking about.
Absolutely.
She literally goes, well, there's no mermaid stuff out here. And
Yeah.
I know, look, if I could be a merman, I would put on a mermaid's like fin and I would go out into the ocean with you guys. Now, here's the thing. I also think I'm the guy who isn't exactly the strongest of swimmers. And I would put that on and the undertow would take me and I would become a real life mermaid or merman. But it would be
You would
fun.
become a beached whale at that point.
That's not nice. That's
beach
not
dolphin.
nice.
There you go.
Okay, I could be a beach dolphin. I was trying to make a dolphin noise and I got caught up. I'm sorry. All right. Speaking of dolphins,
Moving on.
Quickly moving on away from Brandon's weirdness. So we have a friend in the background who wants to be a mermaid really bad. All right. So I'm gonna bring her in and let her see if she could talk to us about how we can all become mermaids. Good.
Good morning.
Hey, Suze, how you doing?
Hi, Suze.
Hi, I have mermaid hair.
Yeah.
I have mermaid hair.
I have mermaid hair. And this is me moving my fins.
So, Suze, you would be a mermaid if you could, right?
Yeah, why not?
I mean, so you're not scared of the fin and going in and out of the water and then all of a sudden being too much and you can't get out of it because you're stuck trying to, swim and you can't kick your legs like normal.
Arms. Or are they getting their arms up? You got arms.
No, no.
Yeah,
Mermaids don't have arms.
Shut up, Brandon.
Ariel had arms. She picked them up and she said,
arms still. So what
"Look
the
at
tail
this
does
stuff, isn't it neat? Don't you think my collection's complete?" But I didn't speak like that. That's the fish.
That's a little mermaid.
So
Yeah.
What the
Hey,
tail
Coco
does is it
Bento.
ties your legs together, and then
Yeah,
it
just
like
like
immobilizes them. Yeah, it
Exactly.
immobilizes your legs from moving.
so you can
as
still with your
singles.
arms.
Yeah,
You're not
you
like
move your
you're not
arms.
like yeah, that would be
I
hard.
mean, you are
No.
like that, but you're also like treading water.
your
I'm assuming.
arms.
There we go.
Yeah, so I
knew there.
you just get a movement in your body. You'd have to get this sort of movement in your body.
Yeah, the
Would
dolphin
have to
kick.
do that. Yeah, the dolphin kick.
That was way better than mine. Way better than mine. I love it. So, Suze, you have something exciting coming out, and you're doing new things. I'm excited to hear about it. Let me do this. Everybody, do yourself a favor. Go follow Suze on her new podcast. She's getting ready to do a whole bunch of new fun things. Periscope sucks. So tell us about what you're doing and how things are going. I just shared your link. Click on that, everybody, and give her a big love of follow and a kiss from us today.
Yeah, well, I mean, I explained this in my first episode of my podcast, which is that my plan was to make a new YouTube video every day, and it wasn't happening. And I had all these excuses. First of all, it was, I couldn't possibly because of my hair. And so I got hair. And then it's like, I don't have that excuse. And then it was like, I don't want to have, I don't want to have a background. I want to have, the comments here, sorry, it's funny. I want to have a green screen. So I ordered my green screen arrived 6 days early. So I didn't have that excuse anymore. And so these excuses were literally just procrastination and perfectionism. So anytime that comes up for me or the people that I coach, I make content on it. And so I was like, why don't you just make a podcast? Then you don't have to worry about the lights and everything else. Yeah. And I've had a podcast show before, but I haven't picked it up for a while. And once I started listening, I was like, this is flowing, and this is all about, if something's not flowing, go around, go over, don't just keep butting your head against the door. So I birthed a new podcast called Creative Revolution, and I'm really, really loving it now. And I'm singing as well. So I'm looking forward to getting into it with this man here, and maybe doing some jams together. I won't share what I just created, but I just did a version of Oops, I Did It Again, but a very dark version. But I won't share it because it's still in production and we haven't quite finished. We're going to bring some strings in and make it kind of dark and theatrical. So I can't wait to share that with you. But these are things that I'm really excited about at the moment. So yeah. So
I'm sorry. Oops, I Did It Again. Dark.
Yeah, Britney Spears.
Yeah. Or kind of
no, I get it. I'm trying to picture. You guys are the musician minds. I'm the creative mind that goes out and says, "Hey, we can all do everything we ever want." And you guys
listen to like Punk Goes Pop.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
I love
If you
I
like
love
that
both
kind of thing. It's just
books.
like gender offending or genre bending. There we go. That's what I was looking for. Wrong
Wrong
Genre
everything. Gender offending, not the thing we wanted at all.
No, I didn't say offending.
We've already started with hump day. So, yeah.
Well, it is hump day. Are you getting humped later today? It's the middle of the week. We have to get through the hump. You have to hump through the day.
Okay. It's a morning show.
We're starting the. I'm gonna shut up.
I think we have different language this side of the pond. But no, the dark version is this. If you listen to the words of "Oops, I Did It Again," it is quite dark. She's actually a player who's saying that she's manipulating someone. I made you believe we were more than just friends. Obey. It's like, it might seem like a crush, but it doesn't mean I'm serious. She's really quite evil. It's not like, oops, I did it again, like how we heard Britney's song. It's actually it's like, I'm a player, I'm manipulative, I care about the consequences. If you listen to the words, it is dark. And I actually really love taking a song and finding the theater in it. And it was an accident because in the UK called Sarah Vista asked one of the guys from the band to do music with me, and he sent me a backing track, which was just some chords, and I was struggling to find a rhythm, and when I got into it was like, oh, actually, this is quite dark. And so just the music producer that I was working with, we just and Gavin, you'll know what this is like when you get started in music. You're like, oh, and then it's just let's do that, let's take this away, and oh my goodness, 1.5 hours later, I had to leave to go to a birthday party, but if I didn't, I would have been there for the next 4 hours. So I can't wait to go back next week. So it's really fun, and I think creativity is the thing that will save us. Right? It doesn't matter what's going on. I've suddenly realized that I don't care if it's a lockdown, as long as we have our art and we can make our music, and we've all had to learn how to do everything online.
Mm-hmm.
It's listen to My Chemical Romance's album, The Black Parade. Oh, I love having new listen to. Can you remind me of that, Gavin? Let's write that down.
Listen to that, Suze.
That's one of my favorite albums.
Can you flash it up for me again? My Chemical.
She didn't go to school in America. That's like every middle
Yeah,
schooler's anthem, in all honesty.
I missed out. I really want to go to. When I was a kid, I really wanted to be in an American school because they just look amazing. Because we would see them and move, with all the lockers and hanging out by the lockers.
Nice. It all depends where you go.
So, Suze, you have a special guest today coming in with you.
He's here.
He is. He's in the background. This is his YouTube channel.
That's great. Okay, wonderful.
I do not want to mispronounce his last name,
But
Ash.
At it.
Tabatabai.
All right, all of us get one guess, and he gets to tell us who is the closest. So I'm going to hit subscribe right here. I subscribed. Ashley, thank you for coming on today. Ashley Tabatabai. Hold on. Tabatabai. Tabati. Ashley Tabatabai. All right, your guess. Your guess.
Sound like a papadom.
All right. Mine would be Ashley. Let's see. Tabatabai.
You're cheating. You saw Tokyo Beno's cheat sheet.
Oh no, I didn't at all. Actually, I'm reading off the bottom there because I'm assuming that all the A's are the same vowel sound except for the end, since you have the two vowels at the end there, so it has to be a different sound. And typically, the I would be the dominant sound.
You know what?
Out. I was just gonna say Ashley Tabatabai. We don't know.
It sounds so much better with her. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm excited to bring Mr. Ashley, I'm going to mess up your name, into the conversation.
What's happening, guys?
All right. How do we say your last name?
Forget that. I've had the most fun just listening to you guys trying to pronounce it. So can we just make that the segment? Because for me, that's awesome.
Like,
okay, we'll just talk about your surname for the whole half.
Yeah. Gavin's given that way more thought than I have in 37 years.
Okay, let's get it wrong. We'll just be like Tabatabai.
Wait, was I at least close then?
I don't know how to say my own surname, dude. So I mean, yeah, why not? Sure. Yeah. No.
Oh
so
my God.
I say Tabatabai. Apparently, so my dad was you got it right. My dad was from Iran. So apparently the proper pronunciation is Tabatabai. Now you can get why. Yeah, but you could get why I would not say that when I introduce myself, because it just does not drop well when I talk like this, and then one word will just sound totally different. TSA don't like it.
Yeah, I would have a samurai sword, and I would introduce myself.
Yeah, you've not traveled internationally as a half Iranian, though. So you can't do that.
With samurai swords.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm just happy to fly generally without COVID, let alone with it. So anyway, let's not pull on that, Fred.
Yeah,
thank you guys for having me on the show. It's a pleasure. It's nice to not be the one interviewing.
Yeah. It's a totally different seat, isn't it? Like I'm used to when you switch roles. It's still hard not to want to be the one asking the questions. Like I'm listening, and then I'm like, all right, I got to ask him this. And like when you're the opposite, you're sitting there trying to hear everything, but you're still questioning. All right, how do I love it. So Ashley, you are friends with Suze. You've known each other for a little bit now. And tell us how you
class, right? Yeah. It's been like, this is like this virtual world. So we've not seen each other for, I don't know what time. I don't know what time is anymore. I want to say 4 years, 3 years, but we were in acting class in London
could even be longer than that. I think it could be longer than that.
So tell me a little bit about how all right, you guys are in acting class, you met. What have you been doing since then? Have I seen you in anything from pornos to even being on? He shakes his head yes easily too.
Yes, all of the above. All of the above. All of the above.
It's a living, okay? Some people got to go down that road. What was the first thing that a whole bunch of women did as soon as lockdown happened? They made OnlyFans accounts. It's lucrative. There's money in it.
He's not wrong.
That sounds like a man talking from experience too. That sounds like a man who knows.
Trust.
I will happily participate, but I will never pay for something that I can get anywhere else for free online.
Fair play. I can respect that.
Okay. Yeah. Enough of that. Ashley. Ashley podcasts now, and he's got an amazing podcast where you're interviewing people from the acting industry, right? So casting directors, is that?
My podcast is not called Shake the Moneymaker, by the way. I just want to point that out, but it might be my new idea for another show. No, yeah, I started exactly midday showing. It worked for Sally Jesse Raphael and Geraldo, so why not?
All right, yeah, I dig
it. I started a podcast. Yeah, it was around January of last year, so just before the whole pandemic thing blew up in the West. And my initial intention was to just interview, kind of like you guys, interesting people across different sectors. So I've been this weird hybrid where I've worked as an actor and filmmaker, but I've also worked in digital marketing. It's like two very weird worlds. So I've brought sort of different guests from those walks of life onto the show. My view is always to try and interview casting directors and film producers. Eventually, I was going to warm myself up to it. And then the pandemic hit and people had a little free time. So I just reached out to casting people. And now, I'm really grateful that I say 80% of the guests are casting professionals and film producers from the US and the UK. And, they are big players working in huge offices, casting some really amazing projects. And it's been really interesting to pick their brains, see the common through lines, see the stuff that is sort of, and also I try to bring on fellow actors too, so they can meet and connect with them because, the world's being shut down and it's been important, I think, for people to connect with industry people whilst we've been in this hiatus.
That's awesome.
That's fantastic. That's great. I love
Do you find sometimes it's like difficult because you're saying that you got like a couple different categories that you talk about here. We do that as well. So do you group yourself as one sort of like a niche that you go into, or do you find that like marketing your show can be a little difficult sometimes just because you have different like so many different topics and everything that you go about?
I'd like to say I've given it loads of thought, and I think the actual honest answer is it's just organically turned into actors and filmmakers who are the core audience, because that is the core sort of type of guest that I have on. From the marketing side, I sort of let the chips fall where they may. Like, if people are interested in the digital marketing guests, then great. And if they don't tune in, they don't tune in. But I used to segment myself just as a person, which is always a great way to go. And show up as like, I'm actor today, marketer tomorrow. And now it's like, it's all experience. It is what it is.
Yeah.
People listen if they want to listen.
That same thing. I had that thing a lot where people are sort of saying, as an actor, you should only be an actor, you should be this. I had in the past agents who said I wouldn't even mention that you were a dancer because you won't get taken seriously as an actor. And then I would speak to other people and they would say, but what about Burlesque, the movie? What about what's that movie with Natalie Portman?
Black Swan.
The dance. Black Swan, thank you. Yeah, Phantom of the Opera. He was saying, so yeah, it's sort of life as an actor. Any experience that you have in life, you use in your work anyway. So I really understood this compartmentalizing of ourselves and splitting ourselves off. For me, it never really worked. So what's the thing that's flowing for you in your life right now? Is it the podcasts or?
Actually, lots of writing, create like storytelling, writing in terms of scripts. I sort of got into that 4 or 5 years ago. I very much got into the mindset of make your own work. So the podcast was sort of a knock-on effect of that mindset. I didn't really want to be the person just waiting for the phone to ring when someone gave me an opportunity. I'm grateful for those, absolutely, but you could wait forever. So, lockdown has been in some ways great for me because it's given me a lot of time to just write stuff and work on stuff. And I've been filming a Zoom series. It's super ghetto with a bunch of actor friends. And it's just been a great way to work the muscle. And that's sort of the space that I've been in prior to COVID and throughout it. Like, nothing's really changed. I've just been indoors a bit more.
Yeah. That's because I remember when we were in the acting class in London, we were working with a teacher from Angeles, Gavin, and he had a couple of teachers that worked in London, and so we would get Anthony Mindel come over every so often and do a workshop. And for me, that was the most incredible training. This was the kind of stuff where people would be throwing chairs across the room in rehearsals and really just going for it, and it was just so impressive. And I remember that's how I got into making that decision that I'm not going to wait anymore to get roles or get parts, because it made me feel so powerless. And that's how I ended up making the short film London Baby that ended up getting into 3 film festivals.
That's right.
Yeah, and then after that, I noticed that everyone else started going, yeah, why not? And now everyone's saying, yeah, let's bring the power back to ourselves. Let's make our own films, podcasts, whatever we want, because there's nothing worse than sitting by the phone and waiting for it to ring.
And the internet's a great equalizer too, right? Like, we could put stuff out there and find an audience, and we might not hit Netflix millions of people with one thing, but we can reach a small niche, and then from there it grows, and then you just don't know where it gets to. I mean, that's what I've done with my shorts, with the podcast. It's what you guys are doing with your show here, and that's really cool, because that wasn't maybe around, I want to say definitely a decade ago, maybe even 5 years ago. It wasn't that big of a thing. No.
And now everyone's doing it. So we're just on the wave before it will be like completely saturated. Exactly. And everyone will be online. I'm already starting to see it. You know, you see adverts on YouTube where it's like, "Are you still working the old way?" You know, and you're, no,
you've seen my ads. You've seen my ads. Great. I'm glad my ads are getting in front of the right people.
So I'm curious, have you done any auditions since COVID has happened? Have you been doing any self-tapes?
Self-tapes only. Yeah. I've had, I'd say half a dozen since sort of November through now, which is not a lot.
No.
Compared to what you'd normally expect around this time of year. It's opening up a little, it's kind of building, but I think especially at the beginning, it was a lot like going back to summer of last year. It was mainly like your big Netflix, Amazon studio stuff because they had the budget to cover for what COVID was requiring, which was just the cost of, you know, testing and holding people up. And if someone dropped out, you had to quarantine and shut down for 2 weeks. So the big boys could cover it. The indie films were now they're able to, but back in last summer, like most indie films just stopped because they were unable to cover the budget. And I spoke to some indie producers and they said in LA, 20 to 30% extra budget had to go to COVID. You can't, they don't make money normally on an indie film anyway. So that was tough. And indie film is a big thing for our industry. It was cool because I spoke to a friend yesterday and he said like the Oscars this year felt a bit whack. And he's like, did you even know any of the films? I don't know if you guys like knew many of them compared to other years.
I didn't even pay any attention to the Oscars this year, actually. I didn't even see any version of it at all either. But they didn't have an audience as well, or is it?
No, I think they had a crowd there of like just the people who were actually nominated. And I think they had a separate thing in London. But there was there was no like main audience. But it was interesting because there's been no film festivals running to the Oscars this year. So we don't get the buzz about all these indie films. So nobody knows what the hell's been going on. And I just think that indie film is such an important part of what the industry is because it lets us see new talent, new stories, the stuff that isn't just like what my Netflix algorithm suggests I should watch because I saw Black Mirror last week.
Yeah, I mean it's another small business, if you like, that's being out because of everything that's going on. It's I remember my friend said to me the other day, she said that there's such a thing now called I think she called it's a COVID cover, and she was a COVID cover. And it basically means that she has to be available, like a standby for the other actress in case an actress gets COVID. So they actually even have a standby waiting, so they'd be within a half an hour's drive that they could literally be there if someone got sick.
So hear that, right? Like for talent, you have to. I've heard stories of crew, as in like grips and camera crew, that they were just replaced if one person on that team got it.
Oh my God.
And so that's like even more ruthless. And I want to caveat. I don't know if that's every set. It's a story from one set. So I don't know. It's going to be different from case to case. But either way, if you're behind the camera and you're not a head of department and you got knocked out, it sounds terrible. You're more expendable, for lack of a term, because they got to keep it.
Like that's a way to, in a sense, indirectly encourage people to lie about being sick, and lie about COVID. Because if all three of us are on a camera crew with 10 other people, and one of us gets sick, we know that we're going to be putting all those other people out of a job. And they're going to be pissed at us if they find out. So
it doesn't help the dynamic, huh?
Yeah, so maybe it's just better to just wash our hands a little extra, keep the mask on.
That's true. Incentivize it because they're testing you like 3 times a week, so they're going to find out one way or another. So this is why Tom Cruise went mental on everybody, clearly.
Oh, what happened? I don't know about this. This sounds exciting.
Don't you? There was that. Did you know, Gavin? Did you hear that leaked clip of Tom Cruise on the Mission Impossible?
I've heard bits of it, but I ain't look into it.
But we should
drama terribly often.
I mean, I get it. Like I think he maybe brought this up a few times to these people on the crew, and there's this rant that got leaked. There's an audio of him just literally saying, like, wear your mask, do the right thing, follow the protocols, because we're lucky that we're here being able to do this. And, you know, like it's one of those where, yeah, like you can easily find the clip. It was like a Christian Bale moment when he flipped out years ago on set at someone. I love it. It's great.
I'm
just waiting for your moment where you can have a.
How are you getting your auditions right now? Are you looking them up? Like, do you have I know there are websites that have them posted as ads, you can find them, or are you with an agency? Or are you doing both? Like,
I've got my agent. I'm nice. Fully in her hands. I fully trust her. I'm grateful that I've got one that I found after going through a few different ones that I trust implicitly, and she's great. And she's hustling, you know, both UK and US. I don't think she sleeps. Literally. I'm worried about that. Like sleep, please.
A sleep deprived.
Yeah, right. But it's in their hands. It's tough for everybody right now, and they're doing what they got to do. But you know, she's the one who's pulling the strings there for me, and you know, I leave it to her.
Most definitely.
That's great. So, do you any can we pull up some links of Ash so people can check out the kind of things he did? You did a short film, didn't you? Did you in England or did you film it in the States? The one
well, both of them that they could be were filmed in the UK. There was one that was set there, but that was filmed in the UK. And then the other one is inspired by Spain's stolen baby scandal, which people have no idea about.
No, I don't. Please enlighten me.
And that was filmed in the UK as well.
Wow.
So the Cliff Notes version to that is through the 30s to about the early 80s, there was this huge scandal in Spain where babies were taken from their parents at birth and sold to what were more suitably deemed families. It initially happened through Franco in the 30s as part of a political movement, and it eventually just became kind of a money-making thing where doctors and nuns and priests were all kind of part of this. And, you know, it had nothing to do with politics or the Catholic Church in the end. And so no one really knew about it. And then around the early 2000s, it came to light where there were like all of these people who were 40, 50 plus coming out saying like, you know, I don't know who my birth parents are. And these birth parents who had been looking for these kids who had been told they were dead. Really crazy story. Similar thing happened in like Chile and Argentina. And I just knew about it because I've grown up in Spain. I thought everybody knew. Made this film, got to go to festivals with it, got to go to LA and premiere there. And as soon as I hit the festival circuit, everyone was like, we had no idea this had happened. Wow. Which is kind of crazy how many things like that happen and we don't know.
Yeah, that's awesome. And this is where we can.
They died.
What's that now?
So they were just telling their parents, like, "Hey, I'm sorry, but the baby passed away," and then just selling it off like black market style.
Yeah, I mean, I think some parents that were adopting them and buying them didn't know. They just thought they were getting it legit. Others maybe knew. There's a documentary the BBC did. There was one kid who ended up living in Texas. He grew up in Texas his whole life. Finds out that he's got a birth sister in Spain. It's sort of, you know, and it got a bit insidious. There was a documentary that showed that in some cases they had a frozen baby that had actually died. They kept him in like a freezer, and they would just bust out this baby and show this child to the parents. And the parents, and the parents at the time didn't really think about it because of the shock. Like, imagine you're told on the day or within days of your baby being born that it's died. They show you this child. After the event, a lot of them then realized that he did look very like, would the child be that blue? He felt really a lot colder than you'd expect if it was a recent deceased. Like, so it's just.
Are any of your ancestors or family Asian? Because they're not in my side. Like, it's like some.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's.
But this is what's so great about being able to be an independent storyteller, is that you can take any aspect of what's going on in the world. You can have a voice,
Sure.
and heavy censorship going on around the world right now. I would say online that if you don't agree with the mainstream narrative, that I'm seeing comedians having their channels taken down. I've never seen anything like it in my history of my life. But at the same time, it makes me want to it encourages me even more, because to me, it just shows how powerful our voices are if being censored by people that have tons and tons of money, that actually our voice is valuable and bring to light any kind of story that you want. So it's great that you're making your own content in short films. I think it's fantastic.
No, thank you. I think you're right. I also think, though, it's a weird time where we all have access to put our voice out there, right? And so I'm not saying that I advocate people's channels being shut down at all. I don't. But I think that my thing to that is let people make up their minds for themselves, and let people have the ability to have the own intelligence and awareness to decide what they want to believe and not believe. Don't spoon feed people what they should be thinking. That's why we get into the mess that we normally get into with all the stuff we've seen in the last year or two, with polarized opinions over labels that in the end don't mean anything. And that's my 2 cents on it. But it's a crazy cool time too. Like, look at NFTs and like how blockchain's exploding and all the stuff that's happening there for artists, where the power's coming back, and that can't be controlled. You can't control that.
Hopefully not. It's nice to have something in our power.
Oh, you don't know NFTs? Oh man. So non-fungible tokens on the blockchain. They all there's all these artists have been selling different types of digital art, ranging from drawings in paint to like Banksy digital originals, to things like Sports Center clips, like a 5-second clip of a LeBron dunk. And they're selling them for like 6 figures or millions. And it's all done over the Ethereum blockchain. Yeah. Like, it's a really...
I know that there's alternative platforms like Libri, which, for example, obviously it's not in competition at the moment to something like YouTube, but they were working using, different forms of currency and things. And I know that they recently got in trouble, and with the tokens and stuff. And I think as soon as they're seen as a threat, the bigger companies cause trouble for them. But I think this is really interesting what you're sharing. I'm gonna have to check that out.
Check it. Because Gav, did I get this wrong? Are you a musician?
Yeah.
Okay, so check this. Kings of Leon are the first ever band to release their album as an NFT through this platform. So their latest album's now on Spotify, and anyone can access it like normal. But for a 10-day window, what they did was they released their album as a non-fungible token, which you could only buy through the platform using Ethereum. And they gave unique content alongside it. So it would be like a unique cover art or a one-off track that you could only get access to if you purchased it in that window of time through this platform. So what that means is, after the 10 days, there is only ever in existence now, I think there was like 10,000 purchases of that unique version of the album. And over time, that gains or loses value. But the power for the artist is it can be sold by anyone who's bought it. So if I have the album, I could sell it to someone like an auction, and they'll buy it for whatever they buy it at. But the original artist gets a percentage of the cut of every transaction that happens in perpetuity. So if you put in...
Oh, wow. So it's only able to still be sold on that platform then?
I'm talking about like a platform. It's Ethereum that you buy it with. That's the coin. Brandon seems to like you saying he knows what's up. Are you stretching? Or are you like...
really exciting, Brandon.
It started...
Actually playing all from an education. Go, Brandon, go.
It started as a hand raise, and then my back was like, oh, you can stretch while raising your hand, so it turned into a stretch. But NFTs are phenomenal. I was in the background. I'm making sure all of our links are there. I made sure to share all of yours and Sue's. Made a scroll across the bottom so that way nobody missed it. Good morning, Sherry. But NFTs are phenomenal. I was actually at the Oscar ceremonies. Like I did, my CBD company was picked to be there, and we did a whole bunch of things. It's my secret, it's my secret side life.
No one has a secret side life anymore, Brandon. No one. The internet's exposed us all, for better or worse.
And I'm just weird enough that everybody watches to see what crazy thing I'm going to do next, like wear a unicorn onesie or start cuddling up with fluffy stuffed animals that are mailed to me, which, by the way, so fluffy! But as I knock my camera down, see, ADD.
Amazing.
What was interesting is I was literally next to an NFT booth. And it was for the World Wildlife Federation. And it was phenomenal to get the interactions that we did, to get the connecting that we did. They take pictures, and they had a gorilla, they had a lion, and they had a panda. Because I kept making the joke, it's the most non-racist animal. It's black, white, and Asian. But at the
Just gonna put that in a script one day. Gonna word that in there.
But it was fascinating because they were taking pictures with the celebrities, the authors, or the writers, the producers. Viola Davis took pictures with a panda, and all these kind of crazy things. But what was interesting is how they did the flip on it with the NFT is they would switch it to where the picture, they gave them all a QR code, the celebrity, and when they shared it, every person that went to the website after that, there was a nonprofit was donating $1 to every single one. So, yeah, it was pretty cool. Like they're able to use these in new ways. Oh, yeah, and it's the World Wildlife Federation. So what made it even more fun was them being able to provide something so different, so unique, so awesome. Now, I come back in because I know I'm a talker and I would have got us all over the place. But like I wanted to let you, because I can talk all day to people, and I do, but I wanted you to be able to get your story out and tell everybody about it. You've done some really cool things. I was playing on your website back here behind everybody and all that. So really quick, tell everybody, I shared your Instagram, your YouTube, all of it.
Thank you.
How the podcast is Apple, Google, Spotify.
Yeah, like all the podcasty places.
Just click the internet and you'll find Ashley. All right.
With my surname, you will, and no one else has this combo.
Just don't pronounce his surname. You'll find him somewhere.
Everybody check out his surname and send us a video of you trying to say it. And I will scrump them together and squish it all together and send it to you, Ashley.
Love that.
I don't know if they do Mother's Day in your town. Do you guys do Mother's Day out there or no?
They do in the UK, but it's on a different day to in the US to in Spain. So I've always been very confused as to when it falls, given that I'm such a weird cultural mix. I'm like, you get every day is Mother's Day, Mom. Like, I don't know what the official day is because you messed me up in my cultural background.
Right? We have our squirrels jumping in now because of me being ADHD. I love it. So Mother's Day is this Sunday, and we're actually doing something special, and I think you're going to like it because I got your energy on here. I'm going to bring one more guest in, and I want you to have some fun with me if you're willing to stay, Ashley. Is that cool?
Sure. Yeah, definitely.
Awesome. I'm going to scroll down a little bit. Hey, Miss Cat, give me that thumbs up. I got to scroll down, make sure Kat's ready for us. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Kat McGee. I won't mess her name up like I did Ashley's. Kat, it is a pleasure to finally meet you. Gavin's going to step out just so we have a good-looking screen. All these beautiful faces here. So Kat is running an absolutely COVID-friendly, amazing event that is going to be over the weekend. I will pull it up in the background, Kat, but tell everybody about what you're doing and how you're helping everybody to help moms through this stressful time reconnect and get their best them. And then I'm sending Ashley over to you because I know he's going to want to jump in on this.
Hi, guys. Thank you for having me on here this morning. This is so great. And I was so intrigued with the conversation you were having before. It was really great. Yeah, so hello. And Brandon, so nice to meet you too. I know Kim loves you. Kim is my partner and co-founder in Evolve Virtual Retreats, which I think you guys can see on this screen now. And Evolve is, she and I had always been interested in doing retreats together. I'm a yoga teacher, a transformational coach. She's a very well-known PR person here in LA, has her own PR company, and has been very successful over the years. And so for years, we've been talking about, there will come a time when we're going to do this together. And right before COVID hit, we finally were both at a place in our businesses respectively that it's like, let's do this now. Let's plan a live in-person retreat. And like 2 weeks later, everything shut down. And so we decided to pivot, because the heart to help people have healing, transformative, relaxed, connected space is there regardless of what's going on the planet. And so we did our first one this past March. It was awesome. We had people come on virtually. You know, now we're all in this sort of Zoom culture, so we're used to it. It feels like, all right, this is what we're doing now. And it was amazing. People had breakthrough moments. They felt like they were really nourished. Evolved into more of who they are, which is the whole point, that, you know, they can come into a space where they can kind of shut off from all of the ideas and mental narratives and really go inward and contact what their own inner knowing, you know, this, I call it organic self-care. It's like when we get quiet enough, what we need to do for ourselves emerges and comes forward. So this is our second retreat coming up. And each retreat is themed. So the first one was Exhale and Evolve. This is Emerge and Evolve, in alignment with spring and this idea of like creative manifestation. And, you know, what are we wanting to create now? What are we wanting to expand into now? And how can we have our voice? Like, Suze, I was listening to you before talking about the sort of censorship and how, you know, even comedians are getting there. It's like so raw and politically correct right now. And to kind of really step into having our voice again, whatever that means for someone, and the freedom and the fearlessness around that. Fearlessness also comes with respect, though. So we can have our voice and not be censored, and at the same time be deeply respectful. So a little bit of a segue there off to another thing, that you guys are having such an interesting conversation. That, yeah, I'm glad to be a part of even for a second. But this weekend, although it is Mother's Day weekend and we are gearing it a bit towards that, it's also for anybody who wants to show up. So we want the brothers and the fathers and the men to come on too. And yeah, we've got a whole weekend of amazingness planned. So we're going to kick off the weekend with, you know, a welcome ceremony on Friday evening. Ben Decker's going to do an amazing meditation. He's a really well-known meditation teacher. Some of you may be familiar. We have Paul Teodo doing a yin, like a yummy, deep stretch, relaxed yin class. And then on Saturday, a whole, schedule of events. I'm teaching a Dharma Power Flow, do my signature Dharma talks, which is what I do. And sound bath and dance party. And then on Mother's Day, we're going to wrap it all up with a Mother's Day brunch with Wellness by Alicia. She's going to lead us through a cooking demo. And then Ben will do a meditation. So we've got this amazing weekend planned that is meant to nurture mothers. We want, if people sign up, we want them to bring their mom for free, or a friend that they know could use this kind of weekend. So yeah, that's what we've got going on. And we would love for you guys to be on too. Please come on to any or all of it. And it's a buffet menu, so you could come to any or all.
I was laughing with Brandon the other day because I said if I brought my mom to a retreat, I would need a retreat to recover from the retreat.
That's what one of my clients said. She was like, I don't use my mom as the person I want to bring for myself.
Someone else. No, I love mom.
So,
but I love the idea of the food. That's the bit to me that stands, because you know, I've done yoga for years, and I'm an energy healer, and you know, the things. And so, but for me, the cooking side of things in my life, often the bit that gets a little bit neglected, because I feel like I don't prioritize it. I don't make time for it. I just want something super quick because I want to get back into creating. I want to be making podcasts. I want to be, I want to be working essentially. This is where for me my flow is. So when I see that you actually have someone who's maybe coaching together in this, this communal space, that's the thing that to me is like, oh, I would really love to be showing mine with someone who's guiding other people into cooking different healthy things. For me, that's really interesting. That's something I haven't seen before.
Yeah, and I know other retreats are doing it. There's nothing new under the sun. So, and there's room for everybody in the space, which is great. But the cooking piece, yeah, we actually we offer a welcome packet to everyone who signs up that is it is so content rich. And there's a recipe section in there, smoothies, easy soup, like healthy, easily digestible foods that are quick to make, because we understand we're all busy. And especially now, I don't know if this has been your guys' experience, but for me, going more online like this, I kind of schedule my sessions back to back. And so it isn't like there's even less time sort of in a way, because we're not driving to the next location and having that sort of time in between. So yeah, we're really excited to have Wellness by Alicia. Alicia's going to do this cooking demo with this yummy smashed pea toast. And, people can join if they want and get their ingredients ahead of time. And we've given them a shopping list. And so it's just kind of a fun way. We were planning on having her every retreat anyway, but on Mother's Day, it's kind of like a fun way to, have brunch together. We can make the food together. She'll guide us through it, and then we get to enjoy this communal meal together. So yeah, I think that's a great addition too, if I do say so myself. So yeah, we're excited about that.
So I have to say, I will be there. I'm going to be going to the retreat with my mom, and my mom is so excited yet nervous. Her exact thing is, and I'm saying this because she's not like me. She doesn't meditate. She doesn't yoga. Working out is me getting her to go for a walk. And I love my mom. She knows all of this. I told her I was going to say this today. That way nobody thinks I'm throwing my mom under a bus. But for this, I know what my reputation is, but my mom is very nervous about the yoga stuff. She's like, if I can't do a position, if I'm not good at the meditation, are they going to be understanding? And I'm like, well, first off, it's digital. So it's not in a room full of people that you have to worry about. Like when you're stretching and doing yoga, do you fart? Yes, you will fart in yoga, but now in a room that you're alone. Right, because first time I went to yoga and I had that and I stretched and it was like, and you didn't expect it, you're embarrassed. But then when you realize everybody does that, and it really does become like a stinky room, but not always, you're pushing out the bad things. And for my mom, she wanted to make sure she could feel comfortable. What I like about what you and Kim are doing, I see you both laughing at me. What you and Kim are doing is
situation, and you have to make a decision when teacher, because I was a Pilates teacher for 15 years. You have to make a decision when that happens. Am I going to mention it and make a joke about this, or am I just going to pretend like it never happened? Both work, but you just have to feel the room, because you have to decide, is this a room that you think is going to be comfortable with that kind of humor? Is that relax them more, or is that going to make them feel more on edge? You have to suss these things out very quickly. But anyway, moving on.
So, Kat, do me a favor. Tell us how my mom help relieve that fear. I saw that and wasn't hitting it, Gavin. I know that was you in the background. So, Kat, tell us about, like, really quick. I'm going to share your link again and bring it up one more time. How this is very inclusive for people like my mom who are nervous and not used to this. Why this is going to be great for people is that first step to bring your mom, and then go watch a movie that Ashley's done.
Excuse me. So I'm glad that you bring this up. I've been teaching for a long time, in some capacity over 20 years, studying and training for 30 years. So this is the thing for me. It's interesting to me that people would walk into a yoga class or any class that's supposed to be like this discovery sort of inner investigation, present time experience, and feel excluded or elitist. And yeah, absolutely none of that. Freedom is the order of the day, full stop. So as far as can she do it or not, all of our guides are going to be offering every level of practice, modifications for physical practice. A lot of the things we're offering are just lie there and receive, like the sound bath. You just lie there and receive. There's nothing to do, right? With Paul's, we just see you guys scrolling. There's Rebecca, the sound bath. Paul's yin class is like a deep stretch. We're on the floor. You're holding poses for a long time. My flow class, I always lead in from the most beginner level modification and then layer in advanced options. So all of that said to say, she can have her camera off. And we want people to know you can be on with us and be in the energy and the space with us and not have to be on camera. We want you to be comfortable. The whole point is to relax and really be able, because when we're relaxed, we're our most creative. When we're relaxed, we have contact to that sort of what I was saying at the top, that inner knowing and that inner experience, that inner guidance. We can hear it clearly, right? To the mind that is still the whole universe. Said Lao Tzu. So that's what we want to cultivate, and she will be safe and fine, and it's super inclusive, and there will be space to talk and connect if one wants. I facilitate the retreats. So, you know, it's like I've been doing this with women and men for years. People come on to community chats on my live stream classes on my website, which is katmcgee.com. Not a shameless plug, just letting you guys know where to find me. But I've been doing this for years, where it's like, you know, if you can, like Sue said about the energy, you feel people's energy, you know, if they want to be brought in or have something to share, or if they want to just stay in the background and there's space. Nobody is required to do anything. It is a choose your own adventure experience this weekend. So please tell your mom. And what a good boy you are. What a good son.
I love to bring enthusiasm, creativity, and open the minds. That's why Kat came on to do a quick promo today. And I really, guys, use I've been scanning it at the bottom. I'm going to say it right now. Use the promo. Save 20. Oh yeah, she is amazing. Her co-partner, Miss Kim Curry, is absolutely one of my favorite people in the world. I just saw her when I was in LA. Her sister is her sister is my longest friend in life. We've known each other since third grade. So guys, Ashley, I'm shared your website. I'm going to bring it up one last time. That way Kat sees it too. And guys, I want to thank you guys for everything. You have Ashley's subscription. Go sign up. Do not mess up his last name as much as I did. You have all the links at the top right, his IMBD, his Facebook, his Instagram, his Twitter, it looks like
Spotlight's a UK thing. It's a UK thing. Don't worry about it.
Got it. I thought it was Transformers. I was going to ask how you became a Transformer.
It's a Decepticon. You're right. That's what it is.
Nice. But I want to
Transformer.
Oh, wait, one more thing. Suze, the creative rebel, do not forget to go subscribe to Suze's channel. The link is in our comments. Everybody, the link for all of them are back to back. Love you all so much. Thank you for bringing such a positive energy this morning. We have California, Ohio. Suze, where are you?
Get it right. When are you going to get it right? When are you going to get it right?
You're on an island. I know you're at an
I've
island.
been on the same island since you've known me, and you still do it. I live in Gozo, which is on the island of Malta.
Oh my God, amazing.
I'm also on an island. I'm in an island too, but it's the UK, so it's not as glamorous as Gozo.
Thank you all so much for coming on. I have author coming in next, and I really want you guys to know how much I love you guys. Thank you. Go sign up. Go subscribe. Go give her a kiss. Love you all. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. See you this weekend.
Thank you. And now, Kat, you and I are just going to talk now. We're going to say hi before Gavin's back.
I'm literally like, how do I get the hell out of here right now?
I got you. You ready? Bye, Kat. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you guys for keeping up with us today. I know today's been a fun one. We've got a lot going on. We have a really, really awesome guest who's been insanely patient with us. Bryan Collins is in the back. He is a nonfiction author. He is from Ireland who helps writers build authority and earn a living for their creative work. He is also a former Forbes columnist and And my work appeared in publications with Lifehacker and Fast Company. I've been a background in journalism and copywriting, written several nonfiction books, including The Power of Creativity, The Art of Writing Nonfiction Books, and This Is Working. He is currently working on a story-driven memoir for new dads. Ladies and gentlemen, it is an honor to bring on Mr. Bryan, and I'm not...
Hey, Brandon.
Hello.
I'm very nice
How
to talk
are
to you
you?
today. Hey, Gavin.
We are so glad you are here. I'm going to first off drop your website link right off the bat for everybody to be able to go subscribe, follow, and everything. So tell us about, I want to know about your new book first. I have to ask, a memoir for new dads. Mother's Day is this weekend, but Father's Day is around the corner. So
a fun fact, Mother's Day and Father's Day are taking place at a different time of the year in Ireland. So Father's Day is not till June and Mother's Day was back in March. But so I have a fun fact for your listeners, our viewers. But I have 3 kids.
Parenting never stops. You know, once you have a kid, then you're a parent every day. So,
do you guys have kids?
No.
Not yet.
No, I'm sure some of your viewers do. So I unexpectedly became a dad. I guess it will be 15 years ago. And basically, I had no idea what I was doing at the time, and I made a lot of mistakes. Looking back on it, because my son is now 16, and he's nearly finished, as we say. He's nearly an adult, and we have 2 other smaller kids. So I was looking at all the parenting books out there, and I was saying that a lot of these are aimed at mothers, but there's not really many parenting books for dads. And if there are, they're by doctors, and they explain the medical conditions that you need to fix. So what were the things that I wish I'd known, that if somebody met me for a beer, what would they tell me over a beer? What would they say, Bryan, this is what you need to know about becoming a dad? So I wanted to take all those mistakes that I made, put them in a story-driven book, and say, don't make any of these mistakes, and your kids will turn out okay. So I'm in the final stages of getting the book ready for publication. And you mentioned some of the other work I did there, so Brandon, thanks very much for that. But this is a bit outside what I normally write about, so that's the other reason I wanted to do it, is to do something that was just different to writing business articles and self-help.
So you said that your son is 16 or
He
turning
is.
16 around then. Yep. Do you plan on making volumes of this then as he continues to grow and you continue to father? Because it doesn't stop when they turn 18 or 21. They continue to get older, and you're still always going to have to give them advice and everything. Are you going to make sequels or more volumes to this series?
That's a good question, Gavin. I guess I'll see how the first book goes, but I think I'll probably write a shorter book and give it away for free. If anybody's interested in becoming an author, that's always a good way to get people to buy your book, because if you think of it as like a series. I guess I could, write a sequel, because I have 3 kids. So my daughter's 10, and we have a 2-year-old as well. But I'll see what happens after this book.
Yeah, I feel like there's definitely a lot of similarities, but most definitely differences between raising a son and raising a daughter.
There's huge differences. Yeah. So we have a saying in Ireland that boys will wreck your house and girls will wreck your head. I don't know how true that is, but I've definitely found to be a completely different mindset for both kids.
Oh.
Have you being a new father, 16 years old now, what would you say has been the biggest changes for you from son to daughters and all that you're like, oh my God, I'm adapting to this?
Well, the biggest change when I became a dad for the first time was I used to go out late drinking and going to nightclubs and boozy weekends with the lads. I had to give all that up not all that up, but you had to dial it down, because minding a baby with a hangover just doesn't work, and it's not really fair to them either. So once I got used to that, kind of got into a nice routine, which oddly enough worked out well for me, because I was able to do things like start a business. And to be honest, you kind of need to keep a consistent routine if you want to start a business. So that really helped. The biggest change from going from having a son to having a daughter is I find a daughter maybe needs a little bit more of your attention than a son. Like my son would want me to show me how to do something, whereas my daughter would want me to be there and watch her do it, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah. So you have other books as well, like we said, like in your bio. The Power of Creativity. Can you explain a little bit about that book? Because we had Suze on this morning, and Suze, our creative rebel. She's all about creativity and all that. If I bring her back, she's just going to take over with you, and I'm never going to get another word in. So I'm going to let her do that now. No, I'm just kidding. But as a creative, and you write books about that, you wrote a book about this. Yeah. Tell me about how you broke into the power of your creativity to know that was something you needed to write to help others.
So when I started my site, Become a Writer Today, I got a lot of questions from writers about writer's block. And I started wondering about the problem myself and thinking, is there something that really prolific creative people know, top authors and filmmakers and musicians? But then what I found out is that they're not necessarily any more, well, most of them aren't any more talented than we are, but they understand how to combine different ideas in different ways. It's not that they come up with something from nothing or a brand new original idea. They simply take different ideas that are already out there, like Steve Jobs did with the iPhone, and they just combine them into an interesting way and then present it to their audience. So I guess if somebody wants to become more creative, it's more about doing the work. If you're a writer, it's turning up and writing 500 words every day, and then you will write a book if you do that. If you're a podcaster or if you're live streaming, like you guys are doing, it's a matter of turning up and recording your live show, and then your interview skills will improve, your guest quality will improve, you gradually grow a listenership, and then one day people will look at you and say, well, I don't know how they do it. They're so creative. I could never do that. But the reality is, everybody has to start somewhere. And you make your mistakes, but because you're at the start, not many people notice them. But then by the time people begin to notice what you're doing, you're actually quite good at what you're doing. And then if you keep going, then you can get to the next level.
I love that. Go ahead, Gavin.
Yeah, thank you. I think that's something that people definitely don't realize when they're trying to be successful is when you see people who are successful, that's what you're seeing is their success. You don't see the struggle. You don't see the waking up at a specific time every day to get a specific amount of work. You don't see the failures that they had to endure to get to where they want to be. And it's very important to fail. In all honesty, it's very important to fail. So that way you learn and are able to get back up and continue on down a new path towards the same goal. What has kept you going this entire time to create this book, to be a successful father and raising a child? Like, where have you drawn from internally to keep you motivated during all this?
Good question.
Yeah, it's a good question. So in terms of writing and creative work, I've worked a lot of different jobs over the years. Some jobs I really hated. I worked in a bar, worked in a shop, and then I worked in a couple of jobs in shift work. But I found that I was always happiest when I was doing something where I could kind of get into flow state, and that often meant writing. So I've tried to figure out a way I could earn a living from writing. It didn't work out for a long time. I was like a washed out journalist in Ireland, was unemployed for quite a while, but I kept coming back to writing because it was what I enjoyed the most. So I just started writing short stories for fun. And then one day I said, I'm going to try something different, short stories, because they aren't going anywhere. So I don't know if you're familiar with Lifehacker. This was back in 2010 when productivity and life hacking was pretty popular. Yeah, so I said, I'm going to try and set up the Irish Lifehacker. Now, the only thing is Lifehacker is a massive media organization, and one guy in Ireland cannot compete with a massive media organization because technology news, it's you got to churn it out every day. So that didn't work out. But then I said, well, what do I know a little bit about? And I know a little bit about writing from all the work I've done over the previous years and even as a journalist. So I started a site about writing, and I found that was a good niche for me. And then when I started to get traffic and when I started to get emails from readers saying I found your article helpful, firstly, I was surprised that it had worked. And then secondly, just getting, questions from people who were actually reading my work, which is what I'd always wanted, was enough to motivate me to keep going and to get through to the next level. In terms of your other question about keeping going as a dad, well, you don't really have any choice. They're your kids, that's what you're responsible for. So you have to be there for them and teach them how to turn into adults.
I love it. That's a great mindset to have, because in all honesty, there are a lot of people that see it as a choice, and a lot of them choose not to be there and not to do what their duties are. So that's amazing that you do have the mindset of it is not a choice. That's the mindset you should have when raising children, most definitely. What are some of the ways that, continuing on with this topic, what are some of the ways that you felt like you failed as a dad? You know, you talked about in your book, or you're saying that in your book a lot, you've said these are all the things to do and what not to do. What are some of the things that you've learned not to do?
Well, a couple of years ago, when my oldest son was about 3, he was going through a phase where he didn't want to go to bed at nighttime after dinner, and it would turn into like a showdown, like at a Western, and he would have a temper tantrum. And I thought at the time the correct approach was to just take him by the arm and bring him upstairs and say, you need to go to bed. But it turns out my son's the kind of person who doesn't like being told what to do. You have to kind of come about him in a different way, almost put your hand around his shoulder and get him to see the right choice. So rather than getting into a shouting match with him, I kind of learned over time that one of us is the adult in the room, and that maybe getting into a shouting match with a 3-year-old means you're not being an adult. So I've had to find a different way to help him to go to bed and get over his temper tantrums, and that meant sitting down with my partner and working out a routine for our son that we were both on board with, so he could see that when two parents are united, it's very hard to put up a protest or a front against it. And then also to give him rewards at the time when he was good. If he did go to bed on time, maybe get that Power Rangers toy at the weekend or watch a little bit extra television on Saturday.
With everything you're doing, it's like you're writing a book. I'm getting messages of people that are like, I have no questions because I'm taking notes from him. I love him. I'm like, okay, good. I'm sitting here like, okay, cool. I'm glad. I want to make sure we get everybody's things in. But with writing a book and having kids, there's a lot that goes into both of those. And like you said at the beginning, you said you were not expecting a kid. You had a kid unexpectedly. What is the mentality for, I'm going to just do people, not men, not women, but people as in general, when you find out like you were not expecting this and you still wanted to make sure that you're going to be taken care of as Bryan? Why? Because Bryan with a Y is the most important person here. I just been waiting to say something with a Y. But for real though, it is, how did you, when you hear that, it could be a very big thing that makes people feel the world's going to change. And you like flipped it. You're like, wait, I'm a dad. I'm a this. I'm going to do this. I'm going on and I'm going to keep writing and I'm going to share things. How did you keep that mentality going in such a strong way? And how do you keep yourself, Bryan, being filled up when the kids are annoying and you have to do interviews and you still have to write?
Yeah, that's a good question. I was agreeing with your previous guests about some of the practices that they have. To be honest, I've found meditation is fantastic for anybody who's worried about something in their business or work, or they're having a stressful family life. You can take a few minutes out of the day in the morning before they get up, or in the evening after they go to bed. Or if you're working, you could meditate on your lunch break. And I'd recommend, I think everybody's probably familiar with Headspace. I used Headspace back in the day. But Waking Up really is a great app, and that's by Sam Harris, and that's been really helpful to me. So after completing that course, I ended up taking a course in transcendental meditation, and that's been really helpful for writing and also for just dealing with the stress of family life. So that involves meditating twice a day for 20 minutes with a mantra, which is basically a meaningless sound that a TM instructor gives you. If you're listening to this, you're skeptical. Jerry Seinfeld is a big TM practitioner, so go check out what he has to say on YouTube. To probably convince you.
Now, do you pick your mantra, or does your meditation teacher give you a mantra every day?
So you pay a fee to work with a certified TM instructor. So it's probably something you do if you've been meditating for a while, because you might be skeptical about paying the fee. Then you go in and meet your TM instructor, and they give you a mantra. It doesn't mean anything, and it's not something you share or tell other people, but it's just a meaningless sound which kind of helps you sink down into like a meditative state and helps clear your mind. Basically, new people who meditate, they say, I can't get my mind to settle, or I can't get my mind to relax, and that still happens to me. But the mantra is just a way of, I guess, kind of helping you focus.
No, I love that, because that's what we try to explain to people. And as you saw right before we brought you on, meditation is a lot for some people. My mom is petrified of it. I love her to death, but she really does. She's like, I can't sit still that long. And my joke is I'm the H in ADHD, and like for hyper and all that. And I think that meditation has really slowed me down. And I transcendental meditation, I didn't know what it was at first. And when I went to a setting and they were telling me I could pay for this mantra, I'm like, why would I pay? I can go on YouTube and get it for free.
Yeah.
But now, years later, I've meditated. I've been meditating. I am in a different state. It's one of these things where that transcendental meditation, that mantra, really brings a whole different energy into you. It resets, it flows, it brings a whole different way. How long have you been doing your meditations, and how long have you been doing your transcendental meditations?
So I started meditating around the time I wrote The Power of Creativity, which I guess is about 8 or 9 years ago now. And the reason why I did that is that when I started looking at what creative people do, it turns out a lot of them meditate. So I figured I'd try it because of that. And I only did it for a few minutes a day using Headspace, and like that was enough for a long time. Then I kind of got to the point where I gotten through a good chunk of the Headspace courses back then, and I was looking for something different. So I started testing out the other meditation apps, and then meditating without apps. And then about 2 or 3 years ago, I read a book by the filmmaker David Lynch, and it's called Catching the Big Fish. But he's a huge advocate of transcendental meditation. He actually has a foundation that teaches people TM in schools, and he talks about how it's helped with his filmmaking. So it's like, well, I have to learn more about this. So I went onto YouTube to get my mantra. Turns out you can't get a mantra on YouTube, but I came across testimonials by Jerry Seinfeld and other TM practitioners. So I Googled to see was there a TM in Ireland, and it turns out there is. I think tm.org explains where they are all over the world. And it cost me about €450, which is about $400. And it was a course that took place over 5 days for an hour or two each day. I guess some people might say, that's quite a lot of money for meditation. And yes, it probably is. So that's why I suppose I suggested waking up or Headspace are a good place to start. Like, to be honest, you don't need the mantra, but it's just if you want to do something that's a bit different and maybe commit to it a bit more, it is something to consider.
So we have a question, and you kind of answered this, but I think you're going to be able to give a really good in-depth one. Stovetop Yum Yum has her own YouTube channel. She comes in and she teaches about eating and proper foods, and she has her son who is 13, and she works with him and they cook together. It's the cutest thing ever. But she wrote her first cookbook, and she says kids, my first cookbook with kids as well. It can be tough at times to find that being organized with tasks. Do you agree? So do you agree that it is hard to keep yourself on task and you need to keep organized? And how do you keep organized? I'm asking that from me as well, because I'm not exactly the most organized person. It's called organized chaos, and I make it work, but it's not healthy. And I've been working very hard to break through that. How do you keep yourself organized and keeping yourself on those ways?
Well, firstly, congrats to Stovetop Yum Yum on writing your cookbook. I always love to see people who actually take that step to becoming an author. And yeah, it is difficult to keep organized with your family life and writing a book. And sometimes that means making sacrifices like getting up early in the morning, or not watching something on television late in the evening time. The other thing I'd say is, if somebody wants to do what Stovetop Yum Yum has done, you don't need to write for 4 hours every day. You just need to write for about 15 to 30 minutes or produce 500 words. And if you do that for 5 days a week, that's 2,500 words. If you do that for 4 weeks, that's 10,000 words. And if you do that for a couple of months, that's more than enough for a book. So small steps will get you to the end. In terms of how do I keep organized, Getting Things Done by David Allen is probably the productivity Bible that I recommend people check out. And that's a system that I used back in the day. In terms of software, I love the app Trello. You can put everything in one place. You can see all the tasks that you have to do. And you can also just see if you've got too much on, because you can visualize it. I also like journaling. Journaling helps me, figure out if there's a problem I need to work through and I haven't given enough thought or reflection.
I love that. So we have a special guest wanting to ask you a question. She's a creative rebel. She's messaging, can I ask a question? And I asked her to tell me if she had one. Ladies and gentlemen, let's bring back Suze. Suze, meet Bryan, the creative genius.
Hi, Bryan.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. It was funny. I don't know why, but I wasn't expecting you to be from Ireland when I heard you talking. I don't know why. It was like, it's funny. It's funny. Whenever we get the bio guest, we make, I do. Maybe I'm the only one. Am I the only one, guys? I just make massive assumptions who this person is. And when I meet them, they completely run away.
I think I've done the same.
So I love how you're bringing a wealth of information here, everything from using Trello to get organized or getting things done by, and I'm taking notes here. It's lovely. And the idea of just taking steps every day, how it's not about that seriousness of putting 4 hours of time aside. It's, 15 minutes is going to get the job done in just a couple of months. That's incredible. But take us through the process of how you get from writing actually getting published, because I think for a lot of people it seems so daunting and it seems such a big feat to achieve. And I think maybe that's why things don't end up getting finished.
Yeah. So before somebody sets out to write a book, I would ask yourself the question, why do I want to write a book and who is it for? Most people want to write a book for one of three reasons. They have a story they want to share with the world, so that could be fiction. They want to make an impact, so that could be self-help or a business book. Or they want to earn money, which could be either. And all of those reasons are perfectly valid, but when you know that up front, that'll help you get through the next couple of months, which could be a little bit difficult. Once you've identified your why, your next step is to ask who is this book for? Is it for, moms who are cooking with their kids? So it's a cookbook. Is it for somebody who wants to set up an online business? So it's for entrepreneurs. Is it for somebody who just wants to read a good mystery thriller at the weekend and forget about work problems? In which case you're going to write for that audience. Because if you try and write for everyone, no one's going to read your book. So you need to drill down into your ideal reader, figure out what they want from the book, and then that will help you get an overview of the book itself. Once you've done that, you can go one or two ways. You can outline the book, so figure out what each chapter is about using bullet points and index cards. Or you can free write, which means you just write like a pantser, which is what Stephen King does. You write about whatever's on your mind on the topic until you hit a set word count. I'd also recommend breaking down your word count by how much you're going to write each week and each month until you hit the target word count for the book, which is usually about 60,000 words, depending on whether it's fiction or nonfiction. And don't stop to edit yourself until you hit that target word count. Once you've hit it, you can either go back and rewrite it, or you can send it to an editor using a service like Readsy. If you're going to rewrite it, don't endlessly rewrite the book. Do try and get feedback from a friend who's going to give you constructive feedback, because the mistake that I've made and other writers make is to keep working on a book for years and rewriting it, and it never gets published. So try and finish it, send it to an editor, and then that's their job to help you fix the book. They will help you with constructive feedback. Depending on how much you pay your editor, you can go through several rounds of revisions, and you can work with beta readers, which is like an advanced strategy that many authors use. And then your final step for publication, and I know there's a lot here, but your final step for publication is to consider the cover and the title, and you'll need to invest in a good cover. Typically, to self-publish a book, it'll cost you upwards of $1,000 to $2,000. And once you have the book ready for publication, you can publish it, and then you need to consider marketing and promoting the book, which could involve interviews like this. It could involve writing guest articles, paid advertising, and so on. So you can do it over a couple of months. It just depends on how big the book is, how complex the topic, and how much time you've got to spend on it.
So I actually have a question then. Sorry, Suze.
I was saying anything. I was just saying that was brilliant. Carry on.
So how many times have you been trying to assist somebody and all of a sudden their biggest focus is like the title or the cover of the book, and you're like, hold on a second, there's 10 other things we have to do before you get there? Is that common because of you being a writer? I just see that being something that would annoy me, as like, that would be my pet peeve, I think, if I was in your job, and why I wouldn't do it, because I'd want to punch people. They're like, I got the title of the book. Well, what's the book about? I have no idea, but I have a title. Like, how do you make sure that you like keep people in line to follow the right protocols? Because the name of the book's going to change when you're writing it. It could change multiple times.
I've made that mistake as well. So I've obsessed about using the right writing software. If anybody's interested, to use Scrivener. Yeah, I procrastinated about that. In terms of, the title or the writing software or whatever the big question on your mind is, it's helpful to recognize or ask yourself, is this a form of procrastination? And am I putting first things first? And if you're a writer, putting first things first means hitting the target word count each day. It's as simple as that. If you're not hitting your 500 words or your 300 words or your 1,000 words or whatever you've decided, then you're not doing the work. All the titles and the book cover, all of that, you will get that right, but you need to have the book first. You can't sell the book without the book being written.
Boom. Stovetop Yum Yum has a question that was a good one. Does meditation help with feeling overwhelmed? Bryan, this one I'm passing over to you.
It's a good question. Yeah. So I found a lot of advocates for meditation say it'll solve all the problems in your life, but it doesn't. Like I still feel anxious, or sometimes I do feel overwhelmed. But what it does do is it helps you just sit with those problems without necessarily overreacting or, feeling like you're going to lose your mind. It doesn't solve anxiety or feeling overwhelmed, but it just helps you sit there with them.
And getting back into the mindset of making sure you try to stay focused in that. I love it. I like you. You have this calming energy. Like I like before this, I'm like, hey guys, we're gonna be doing yoga and this and that. And then you come on and I'm like, yeah, Bryan, how you doing? Bryan, Tokyo Bento has a great question here. You must know about Kevin Rose and Brian Brushwood. They are all into life hacking. Have you heard of them?
I have. I've heard of Kevin Rose. I'm not familiar with Brian Brushwood. I've read some of Kevin's stuff. Life hacking was huge back in the early 2000s. Interestingly enough, a lot of the original life hackers and productivity guys and girls have moved on from it. They kind of said that productivity was a dead end because the more productive you are, the more work there is for you to do. So they moved on to new things. So Tim Ferriss is a good example. I mean, he was big into life hacking, but now he's more into different ways of improving someone's life through asking bigger questions. But definitely familiar with their work.
So I do have another question here, and I'm gonna rephrase this one a little bit. Mandy Atterbury, she says she's been told by a lot of different people that she should write a book about her life story. And Mandy has talked to us. She's been with the show for a while. We know she's been through a lot, and she gets up every time she's knocked down. I got to give Mandy that credit. But she's not sure anyone would be interested in it. Now, for me, my thing I'd say is, hey, you're giving yourself a negative self-talk when you say that. If you have a story where you keep getting up, notice that you're getting up. Don't notice that you don't think anybody else would do it, or be interested. But my question to you would be on that is, how do you know whether you should be Bye, Suze. How do you know whether you should be writing a book or not? Because that is a very big thing in a lot of people's head. Well, nobody's going to read it. Nobody's going to care. If I was to call Bryan and say, hey, help me out, I think I'm going to write a book, what would be your advice for whether it is, if people are interested or not? How would you go about that process and knowing?
Yeah, most people say they feel like they have a book inside of them, but only a few people sit down to actually write the book. If your friends are saying that, you have a really interesting life story and you should turn it into a book, and you want to write a book, which is the big caveat, then you should certainly do it. There is readers out there for your book. It's like anything. There are niches and there are genres, and people will read your book if it's well written, if it's an interesting story. Even if you don't have a fantastically dramatic life, you can still write and find success as a writer. David Sedaris is one person to look at. He writes about everyday life and everyday experiences, and he says you don't need to have something dramatic or major happen to you for people to find it funny or helpful or engaging. And as for the second part of the question, do you want to write a book because you're going to commit the time and resources to do it? And is the book the best format to do this? If you have a fantastic story, you could potentially start a podcast, or you could potentially, create a video course if it's something helpful you want to teach people. A book is just one means of communicating or sharing your message with the world. Now, I pick books because I like to write. I enjoy the craft. But if you enjoy video, perhaps it's a video course, or if you enjoy podcasting, it could be interviews with other people.
I love that.
Absolutely.
I love that.
I think that no matter what kind of art that you do, you should do it if it genuinely makes you happy. However, if people see it or not is more up to you and how you market it. I don't think that the issue is so much if people are going to be interested in it, more so as if they're even going to see it at all is the thing that we should first be worried about when it comes to publishing our art.
Yeah, I have a working theory that you should work a little bit on your craft every day and a little bit on your business every day. So your craft could be writing, something creative. It could be poetry, which is very hard to make a living out of, but you're just going to do it because you love it. And then you work in your business every day, which could be something that's going to help you pay the bills. So if you're a poet, you could also be a freelance copywriter, and it could be pitching for clients. So if you do both, you're going to be satisfied creatively, and you're also going to have some food in the press at the end of the month.
So with the writing, and this is me just coming off the top of my head, I wrote it here so I wouldn't forget even. Wouldn't you say that if you're going to write, you shouldn't be writing for anybody else anyways? You should be writing for yourself to be able to help yourself let go. So whether everybody's interested or not, the writing is for you to help heal you. I could be wrong on that, but I'm just asking, what are your thoughts on that?
If you want to write for yourself and you're not looking for somebody to read your work, you could stick to journaling and just write journal entries in the morning time and then just go about your day. Certainly easier ways to earn a living than trying to publish a book or become a freelance writer. But if you write something and you feel like this is something I want to share with other people because it's a good story, or I've got a message that I want to get out there, then there comes a moment where you need to review what you've written and say to yourself, who would read this, in what format, and what would they expect? And that's when you make the transition from writing for yourself to writing for your audience. But if you're in doubt, write for yourself first, and you can figure out the rest later.
I'm sorry, Gavin, I looked at you. I thought you were going to say something. I was ready to go.
Oh, no, I was just smiling as I'm processing what he's saying. I'm just enjoying the conversation.
I looked, I'm like, wait, I don't want to interrupt. I talk a lot, so that's why I make sure I try to not always dominate the conversation. Bryan, I'm going to pull your website up here. Everybody can go to your website, become a writer today. You could see I've already filled it out. You have my name, you have my email. I'm going to hit send. I was going through writing tools, podcasts. You've been doing a whole bunch of things. When you go through this and you get new clients, the first thing you tell them, what is the first thing out the door for anybody to want to be able to write a book, know a book, and start following it? First thing is they reach out to Bryan. What would be your first advice for everybody after that?
So if you visit the site and you're a new writer or you're an aspiring writer, I will give you a book of free writing prompts, which will help answer some of the questions that you just asked me there, Brendan, a few moments ago. If you want to learn more about the craft, I have a podcast where I interview other authors to deconstruct their writing process, so you can check that out as well. After that, then I'll ask you, do you want to learn about earning a living? Do you want to learn about making an impact or sharing your story? And depending on what your choice is, I'll either send you an article or an interview or potentially talk about a course that I have. So it tends to be a mix between fiction writers and nonfiction writers who would visit the site.
I love it. Have you written your books in any other languages?
I have not, but it's definitely something I should do. So up until December of 2020, I was working as a copywriter and I was doing this on the side. Been doing this full time now since January. I procrastinated about it for a year because of the coronavirus. But I do want to publish books in different languages. It's just a matter of finding the time to work with a translator to do that. But yeah, definitely on my to-do list.
Nice.
So
do you do audiobooks?
I do. I love audiobooks, yeah, because I podcast as well. So I have my own audiobook that I recorded myself, which is fun.
Nice.
And the learning process, it's actually a bit harder than doing a podcast. You got to be more mindful of background noise in audio production. So I also worked with audiobook narrators, which was time saving, but to be honest, when I listened back to the quality, I was kind of like, oh, I would have said that a bit differently. So again, it comes down to time versus money and how much you want to spend on it versus how much you think you learn from it. So for my parenting book, basically, because it's a personal book, I will narrate that myself. But if I write another informational book, I would probably hire a narrator to do it.
If I was to write a book, what would it cost me to have you read it as the audiobook reader? Because I just love the sound of your voice and everything.
Unfortunately, I don't do that. So you have to have quite a lot. No, I don't narrate other people's books. Yeah, I have a distinctive voice. Somebody said to me, "Your voice sounds a bit robotic sometimes." So I tried to take that as a compliment.
It means you're able to be understood.
Professional. There you go.
Yeah.
Yep, that's how I interpret that. With everything going on in the world right now, you mentioned COVID. We are in the United States. Uh-oh, you got a ghost behind you.
Somebody's at the door. Go ahead, yeah, go ahead.
No, you're so Brandon's title of his book would be Squirrel. Yes, it would be. But COVID right now has been a very big thing, and a lot of countries have a lot of different things happening. How is COVID treating you guys right now, and how has this last year been for your mental health?
So you guys are in the United States, is that right?
Yeah. Correct.
Yeah. I presume most of your listeners are too. So Ireland is a bit behind the United States in terms of where we are with the lockdown. So like bars and restaurants are still closed, but we're opening up now. Well, over the next 2 weeks. But the Irish government's been a bit more restrictive than the US. Thankfully, no one I know had the virus. But it was difficult. They had a 5-kilometer radius around where you live, and you couldn't go outside that radius, which got a bit frustrating. And to be honest, I felt like all sense of time disappeared. It was hard to tell if it was Monday or Sunday. There was nothing to break up the week's with, so that was tough. It was also hard not seeing people. So I'm looking forward to potentially seeing people during the summer. They've said that it's going to be an outdoor summer, so that means outdoor dining and so on. That's where we are with the virus at the moment.
What do you miss the most about everything that happened with the virus? What do you miss the most about being out and all that? I get to be home, but I don't like that I haven't gone to a concert. I have not been able to go to the movies. I used to do the movies once a month with my girl and all that. And I miss those little things that we used to do. My money likes me better, but at the end of the day, I miss being able to go out and do those things. What is something you miss?
It's funny you say the movies. Yeah, I watched Interstellar at Christmas over Google Play. Wasn't quite the same watching it at home as it would have been seeing it in a cinema. I kind of miss going out for meeting friends, for dinner and for drinks. I'm also in a local athletics club, and we have races, 5-kilometer and 10-kilometer, or 5-mile and 10-mile races every few months. So they've all been cancelled, so I miss that as well. I enjoy working at home, but it's one thing to be at home by choice, but another thing to be at home because you've told, there's nowhere to go.
Correct. Are you a Conor McGregor fan? I knew that was going to come somewhere or another.
I thought that might come up, yeah. Now, Conor McGregor's not that popular in Ireland anymore. Ever since he was in the news for that incident with the fan in the pub, he's not as popular as he used to be.
Yeah.
And you do assist people with helping write their books if they're interested in writing, you'd be a ghostwriter or something. Is that correct?
No, I don't offer ghostwriting anymore. I did do coaching previously. At the moment, I'll give you access to articles or book, and then if you want more, I can give you a course that will help you write your book as well.
Mandy, I'm going to actually put this in here for everybody as well. Here is the link to go to his website and sign up to be a part with Bryan, so that way you're able to write some stuff and send it to him before he actually just says, yeah, come on, let's talk and all that. That way you make sure you have a little bit of where you want to go and have it ready. But I think that if Bryan's willing to do those things, that's a great thing. Bryan, are your books available? I was trying to find a link to Amazon or something where I could actually purchase your books for everybody and all that. How can I direct people directly to, it's on your website. I just didn't oversee it. I overlooked it earlier.
Yeah, if you go to Amazon.com and type in my name, Bryan, BRY, the books should come up as well.
Nice.
I love, now Bryan with a Y in Ireland is a surname, and it is a high-end thing, isn't it?
I don't know if it's a surname, but yeah, I do get called out on it a lot. Normally spelled with an I, so people do mention it quite a lot.
They do. So the last thing we do here at the Java Delight is we focus on positivity, which you didn't only bring, you brought the creativity and a great energy of calm with enthusiasm. So thank you for the interview today, Bryan. I really do appreciate it. I'm actually attaching your link for everybody here to purchase your books. Boom, go buy today. I want to read the creativity one personally and go from there and start and like just have you back when your new book comes out and talk to you about that, being a dad. Who knows? One of us might be a dad by then. Probably not me.
Never know.
You never know. Brandon is like a high-end name in the US, right? It is now, apparently. But we end every show with a positive affirmation. I say one, Gavin says one, and then the guest ends. And without her knowing, Suze is going to come back and say one as well. She didn't know I was going to bring her back. I was watching her.
It's lucky I'm not naked, Brandon.
True. I wouldn't have been able to bring you back, but I would have left you in the background. But we end every show with a positive affirmation and give everybody something to be inspired by to get them through the week. It is hump day, so it's the middle of the week, and we just want to help get people over that hump. So you'll go last. I'll go first. Gavin, Suze, then you, Bryan. Sound good? Perfect.
Good.
Guys, this was an amazing episode. Honestly, we had a lot of fun. We got to bring a lot of creativity, a lot of new ideas. I truly am grateful for all the guests we had today, from Suze, the creative rebel, to Bryan and the mom yoga retreat we're going to be having this weekend. Guys, do yourself a favor. Everything we're doing out here, we are doing because we want to make sure we help you get your best you. Do not hesitate to connect, reach out, show appreciation, show love, and really do your thing to make sure you're getting your best you. The only way to change this world is by starting by changing ourselves. Love you guys. Thank you for joining us today. Mr. Gavin Kirk.
You know, I had something and then I completely lost my train of thought for a minute. I'm still waking up. So there was a study where they took 100 people and they wanted to see how well they would do as far as completing a task. But what they were testing was their willpower. And the way that they started out, they had a control group where they gave them no food for the experiment. They had another group where they gave them cookies, each cookie for the experiment, and then they had another group where they gave them beets to eat. And before you could continue on with the test, you had to finish whatever food you were given. What they ended up finding is that the people that were given the cookies ended up working on the task because there was like a difficult mathematical equation, I believe it was. They ended up working on it a lot longer than the people who had eaten the beets. And they then did this experiment again in a different way where they went to the mall and they asked shoppers how long they had been shopping and then gave them the same task to do. And they found that the people who had been shopping for longer ended up giving up on the math equation before or sooner than the people who had been shopping a lot less. And the whole point of all of this is that you have a limited amount of willpower. You have a limited amount of motivation each day that you can use, that you can put towards something. So you want to be aware of that and you want to work towards it. The people who had to eat the beets had to use more willpower to get through those before they went on to the problem than the people who had to eat the cookies. People who have been shopping all day, have been making decisions all day, so they use more of that willpower. And you want to think about this when you first wake up. You know, maybe instead of immediately going to your phone and checking Facebook and trying to decide if you want to go and scroll through everybody's stories, or if you want to figure out which zodiac sign does blah, 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 because of blah, 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 those quizzes that they have. Maybe instead take that time to make yourself a nice breakfast, or really take your time in the shower and really like clean your hair nice. You know, just little things. You only have so much willpower to be able to do certain things. So make sure that you are taking that amount of energy that you can do before you kind of give out and have to take another break. Make sure you're taking that energy towards something productive that'll benefit you.
Love that, Gavin. That's really beautiful advice. And if we think about all that came on today, every single person has been creating something themselves. They're not waiting for the opportunity to show up. They're making it happen for themselves. So if there's anything that you're putting off, or there's anything that you're thinking that, oh, I can't do this, I really want you to really question that and see what you can do, whether that's writing a book, setting up your own retreat, make your own film, what it is that you can be doing. I was recently watching Reese Spoon in one of the speeches that she gave, and she was saying that really noticed how there were a lot of women in film who just were misrepresented or weren't represented at all as leads in film, you know, strong female characters, not just ditzy characters who know what they're doing. And so she decided to write herself, to get a production company together and get those films made herself, because there was no one else doing it. And her films, her 2 films, I believe, I don't want to misquote this, but in a year and a half, from what I understand, she made about $1 billion, grossed $1 billion in the box office. Okay, so don't wait for someone else to do it, thinking that someone else can do it better. You be the person that can make things happen that you want to happen. Go make it happen.
Good advice. Mine is a little bit shorter. Whatever project you're working on, whatever you're doing, just keep going, because you're almost there.
I love that. What a great way to end. Bryan, thank you again. Suze, thank you for bringing Ashley. Guys, go give him a follow. Go subscribe. Do everything we can to show the love and support. Bryan, thank you. Please keep in touch. Please keep in touch, buddy. Thank you, guys. Have a great one, guys.
Take care.
Bye.